Bill Donohue, president of the Catholic League, here to talk about the big rally that took place outside of Mayor Mamdani's wonderful Gracie mansion. He has lots of mansions. He has one in Uganda. He has one in New York. This is a guy who, he's got lots of money. He owns 4 acres of land in Uganda. And so he's concerned about the poor. Well, that wasn't the subject last night. The subject last night was a group of Jewish people led by Brooke Goldstein, an attorney, and a group called End Jew Hatred. And I'll tell you a little bit about it. I had an opportunity to speak, but I'm going to introduce here Mike McDonald. He's the Director of Communications, and Sean Leigh. He's one of our policy analysts at the Catholic League.
Yeah. So, Bill, big rally last night. Bit of coverage about it in the media today, but you were there. Can you tell us what you saw? Like, what were the people like? What was the crowd like? Enthusiastic? And those types of details. Let people know what it was.
There were upwards of about 1,000 people there, a lot of young and middle-aged people, mostly Jewish. The patriotic element was startling. I mean, the number of American flags and the flag of Israel were everywhere. And the shout-outs to the NYPD, they were very grateful to them. The cops were just swarming the area. And they were yelling all kinds of patriotic things about America. So it was a very good crowd, and they were very well behaved. And I was proud to be a part of it.
Bill, like you said, it was such a large event. A lot of Jewish representation there, as well as other cultures. But we're wondering what made you compelled to speak yesterday.
Well, I've been working with Jews for decades, at least since the 1990s, whenever there's an attack on our religion or on their religion. Now, it's different groups over the years, but we've come together. You know, Jews and Catholics make up the majority of New York City, and so we have to stand together. And so I was very happy to be there. There was a man from a Hindu group standing for universal rights. A very brave Muslim woman spoke up, and she's gotten a lot of flack for doing so. There was an African activist, a gentleman who was there. I represented the Catholic League. I can't say represent Catholics. I don't take that position, but there was a Catholic voice there that I represented. So it was a nice cross-section, which is why they dubbed it as an interfaith rally. It wasn't just a Jewish rally, but they were united on one thing. Mamdani has a hatred of people of faith. There's no question about it. And his policies are radical, and he's offended an awful lot of people.
Yes, and Bill, I think if they had to just find one Catholic voice in the country, you've done a lot of work tracking Mamdani, and the Catholic League has done a lot. Can you just let the viewers know what we've been doing really to stay on top of this?
Well, it's a tribute to you guys here and the staff, and to Nick as well, who's doing the recording here. A little shout out to Nick. Yeah, we have on our website something called Mamdani Watch. We started that back in August when I wrote an 18-page statement about him, which I'm proud of because it kind of lays out in detail why we have a concern. And then we have Sean basically does the updating on this. We're going to keep track of him because we think he's a threat to New Yorkers in many different ways. But our focus is maybe not exclusively, but certainly largely on the religious end, and that's why I felt it necessary to be there.
And Bill, in the article, when talking about navigating the world with Mamdani as well as the city right now, you mentioned the NATO Article 5 approach. I was wondering if you wanted to expand on that a little bit.
Right. I closed my remarks last night by saying, listen, we have NATO 5, which means that the NATO members are pledged, if there's an attack on one, there's an attack on all. And that has led to the peace, because now you know you're really taking on Europe as well as the United States and Canada. We need something like that in religious circles. In other words, if there's an attack on Jews, that should be read by Catholics as an attack on us as well. Not primarily, but certainly secondarily. And the same is true. If Catholics are attacked or Hindus are attacked, people of faith, especially of the world religions, we're not talking about some wackos out there who create their own religions, and cults, okay? We don't go there with that. We're talking about the major world religions. If you start attacking them without just cause, just simply to just rip them, and you start screaming, globalize the Intifada, we know what that means, then other people need to speak up too. And I think the others should be there when we come under attack, and they have in the past. Want to just kind of close up here, fellas? Any kind of concluding comments you want to make yourself?
No, I'm just happy that you were there yesterday, Bill, to have a Catholic voice and represent the Catholic League, and I think it's a good representation of what we're trying to do here in our efforts and being outspoken.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and just to sort of dovetail off of that, I think we should give a special shout out to Rabbi David Schoenbach, who invited us and really did a lot of the legwork to make sure that this was such a good event, at least for our end, getting us involved.
And I emphasize that we come together to peaceably assemble. That's what the First Amendment says. It doesn't say you have a right to assemble. It says the right to peaceably assemble. I close my remarks with that comment too, because I said we're the model of peace, meaning all the people who are at the rally, not the people who support Mamdani. They don't believe in peaceable assembly, just the opposite. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.